The real reason for Colt Cabana's AEW return. We'll get into that in a second. Plus, are AEW looking to run house shows? Talk about that bit of business. Plus, future WWE plans for Randy Orton have been revealed. It's all in the wrestling news right now. The return of Boom 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 Colt Cabana was joyous on Wednesday. Lovely to see him. Nice
Absolutely.
reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, after such a long time of not seeing him on TV, it was just, it was a really wonderful moment to see him back and everybody going absolutely ballistic for the boy.
So what was the reason for him coming back on Wednesday night, Andrew?
Well, from the Observer, Dave Meltzer writing here, Cabana appearing led to even more talk because people saw it as a shot at Punk or a vindication of the story that Cabana stopped being used in AEW due to CM Punk. We were told that this was more for the locker room than anything else, that having Cabana on the show and given a positive spotlight after months of being ostracized for reasons that had nothing to do with him was a dressing room morale booster since he had many friends there. As best we can tell from the Observer again, Cabana was only in for that one match, but is still under contract to Ring of Honor, but is no longer ostracized and could be used again in some form. Now, Cabana was originally hired by AEW as an agent before he started wrestling, and he'd been doing so for Dark and Dark Elevation too while being there as part of the Dark Order. He did that until leaving for Australia for a role in the TV series Young Rock. When he returned, he was no longer used as an agent though. And it was at that same time Punk got Ace Steel hired in AEW, as Steel had just been fired by WWE in a cost-cutting move. After that, he was no longer brought to TV, which is where sort of these rumours and why they all took place and where they sort of stemmed from.
Yeah, so the big thing to take from that is that Colt Cabana's return was a bit of a morale boost for a locker room that really loves Colt Cabana, who hadn't been part of TV. Was he kept off TV because by decree of CM Punk? That's something I've seen floating around, and as I think we might have said in the news yesterday, I don't think that's the case. I don't think CM Punk went, I don't want Colt Cabana here.
No.
Bring me a lobster. I don't think CM Punk said either of those things, but I think it was more a case of maybe management sort of making CM Punk more comfortable than considering Colt Cabana's sort of emotions in all of this.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I agree.
But I don't think it was like a CM Punk mandated thing. But of course, then him bringing in Ace Steel to do Colt Cabana's job, there's obviously some question marks over that. But I was happy to see Colt back. It doesn't look as if, from what I've read, that he's going to be a long-term part of AEW programming still. I do believe that Colt Cabana is going to be part of what they're planning for Ring of Honor. Which
makes a lot of sense, I think, for Ring of Honor and for Colt Cabana too. It was such a huge part of Ring of Honor. And again, as we've spoken about multiple times, I'm glad that there is like people sort of relegated to that role in terms of trying to drive Ring of Honor forward and being more focused as its own little separate entity.
A sort of player manager.
Yes.
For Ring of Honor. I think Colt Cabana will be really strong in that role. He wasn't the only surprise on Dynamite TE on Wednesday. Jeff Jarrett kabonged back into our lives. Bursting onto our screens like an advert for gold bullion. Good to see Jeff Jarrett back doing his thing. Now, Jeff Jarrett was hired as in a similar role that he was in WWE for a brief period of time. So he's going to be working behind the scenes when it comes to business and when it comes to live events. And the Observer writes that that role is to help AEW when it comes to international trade, as he's very well connected, as well as possibly house shows. Right now, there are no definite plans for AEW to run house shows, but there's a lot of wrestlers on the roster who want to wrestle more and have expressed interest in doing live events, a la how WWE does business. There's editorial on this in The Observer where they say that in terms of AEW's live events, they're not as hot as they were. So running live events and running non-televised events would be a risk. We've seen even WWE scale back their live event business to the point where they do like 2 very well hyped live events per week. But there was a point where they were on the road all week long.
Yeah, of course.
And they've had, even the biggest in the world have had to go, we should probably pare that back somewhat.
Yeah.
I think there is something for doing a live AEW event every so often. I know they did one during WrestleMania weekend a year or so back at Daly's Place. It was an untelevised event at Daly's Place. I'd like to see them do something around LA. around WrestleMania. Why not? Why not do something there?
That's a really good idea, especially, like obviously WrestleMania around there as well. There's a lot of events going on, as we talked about in the previous news video. You go capitalize on that. There's already going to be a lot of people there, right?
Yeah.
As well. So why not just capitalize on that?
Weirdly, and this comes up in the Observer as well when you mentioned about sort of events coming around to WrestleMania week. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla have said they've got no plans to do anything around WrestleMania week, which is a surprise because normally they're one of the forerunners that do stuff around that time. But a very crowded environment, maybe they might change their minds, but I always imagine we will see a GCW collective during that WrestleMania
we usually
week.
do, don't we?
Yeah, we'll normally see a bunch of great shows from them. Maybe a Joey Janela Spring Break, maybe an Effie's Big Gay Brunch, stuff like that. Some more thematic shows. But apparently, no Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. That may very well change. It may very well change. Let's talk a little bit about WWE, in particular, Randall Keith, who hasn't been on telly for a while. WrestleVotes were chatting with Give Me Sport, and they say when Randy Orton went down injured, the plan was for him to come back and immediately turn on Matt Riddle.
Not in that way.
Which doesn't surprise me.
No, I think we were talking about this for a long time, weren't we? When they were a team and things were going really well, I think we were all just waiting for the moment. They got very hot at one point, and I think WWE held off on it so they could capitalize on the merchandising and everything too. But we were just waiting for that moment to happen, weren't we?
Exactly. And from the moment the team was formed, we were like, any minute now, bang. Even a few times Orton's giving him a little cheeky RKO just to go, I got you. But the thing that ties into this is the fact that, and this was something that WrestleVotes were opining on with Give Me Sport, and they were saying that Riddle hasn't had a lot of sort of strong creative since the end of his Seth Rollins storyline, and that's maybe partly because people backstage thought that Randy Orton would be back by now.
Yeah.
So this is like a bit of a cooling period for Riddle because he's kind of waiting for the return of Orton, so Orton can give him that bang RKO, and off to WrestleMania races they can go.
Yeah, that'll be a huge match at WrestleMania between the two.
I think if Orton's in a position to get back in there and wrestle, and if they anytime they start it now, they'll have some fun with it.
It'll be nice, hopefully, if he does it, like, obviously, hopefully, put his health first and he is 100%. It would be nice to have that build, like, starting around this sort of time, so we can get something, like, really, really meaty to dig into when we get to WrestleMania.
But if you are wondering what those future plans are for Randy Orton, it is, to the surprise of not many, a big old bust up with Matt Riddle. Bring us some noise from that one. We are live this weekend for WWE Crown Jewel live reactions from Andrew and myself. Let's address the elephant in the room, the pigeon on the table. As Adam Pacitti will not be defending his Cultaholic Heavyweight Championship in our reactions, we are crowning an interim Cultaholic Heavyweight Champion, because that's all the rage these days, isn't it?
Absolutely. Look how cool it looks. It's so beautiful. There was a lot of love online for this belt, and rightly so as well.
As described by Andrew Hodkinson, impeccable. The winged pigeon is on the line for our live reactions. Who will take this cardboard home? Hopefully it's not raining. Live reactions from us to tomorrow on the Cultaholic YouTube channel. Also, you'll have what happened at and the WTF moments from Crown Jewel as well. And for the latest wrestling news throughout the day, you can check out Cultaholic.com. Good luck for this tomorrow.
Mwah. Mwah.
Cuckoo.
Coo.